Welcome back to the late lap. You know what? In a real world with real problems, I've got them. And believe me, I've got problems. Dave Letterman said that once on air. But what we don't have is an angry guy on the other side of the camera. We've got NHRA journalist David Hoffman. I'm really sorry for the forte to be me dropping a microphone and questioning sound effects, but welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, AJ?
Very well, very well. So Shawn Langdon, former NHRA world champion, comes into Virginia, where so many great headlines were taking place. We go home turning off the Fox broadcast thinking he's the winner. Now we know Justin Ashley is. You heard all about the tech side of it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess first off, I appreciate you taking the time to have me on, especially for the late lap at 9 p.m. at night here, and up in upstate Maine. But so yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like, you know, I'd I'd like to see both sides. I understand both sides, but I think for a starting point, there has to be a little bit more transparency from the NHRA side. And for me, it's like it took for someone on Twitter/X to say, "Hey, this is under review," for anyone to actually be like, "Wait a minute, Shawn Langdon maybe isn't the winner," and then you're like, "Wait," and then you gotta wait how many more hours, and then to eventually see the NHRA post a statement. And honestly, I saw Coletta Motorsports post a statement first, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so it isn't a thing," because it just wasn't communicated. So I think starting off, it's just one of those things where I think you need to have some more transparency.
Yeah, I think I don't know who that falls on. The PR team has been so good to all of us. I don't think that falls on them. I don't know if it's the competition side. I don't know if this is a legal thing, if it's coming from admin. And frankly, that might not be our business, as to who or why. But in the realm of a national motorsport, it sure does bite to know that we don't know. And sometimes it might just hurt. I actually reached out to a representative with NHRA yesterday, and I texted them and I said, I understand if you want to tell me, hey, shut up and wait. But if I'm not asking, I'm not doing my job. And at that time, they couldn't provide me an update on these storylines. So what types of emotions would you assume are going through both Langdon and Justin Ashley's brains in the last 36 hours?
I'm sure for Shawn Langdon, first off, it's a little bit of frustration because you come from the high of coming out of the race car, you just won another Wally, have already been having a stout year, and I'm sure it's going to continue. But then you go through the whole celebration process, and then to be like, hey, you're not actually the winner. I'm sure those are like, it's not going to affect him too much. Shawn is as laser focused as soon as he gets in the car as anybody. And then on the flip side, I mean, Justin Ashley, knowing him, the last thing he wants to do is get a win based on a technical ruling. And I'm sure for them, I mean, they've had a good year and probably should have won Bristol, probably should have won 4 wide. I forget which one. I don't know if it was Charlotte or Vegas, but it's one of those where you want to win one fair and square, not like it wasn't fair, but just you want to win one and say, hey, we got down there first. We're the ones that are able to hoist the Wally and not have it be on some technical thing that was quite frankly out of their control.
Yeah, and not to take anything from either driver, but there's really superpowers in that class. Brittany Force, Antron Brown, and Steve Torrence seemingly have won every decade worth of championships. And so it finally comes down to somebody not in those names, and then it's settled a little sloppy. So what do you think that this compares to? For me, I'm thinking, a NFL football game would never go to the next day. If we knew who won, it would maybe be 5 minutes after the game, and it would come with a lot of beer bottles on the can.
Honestly, it's hard to compare because I feel like in motorsports we're almost kind of accustomed to, like, let's say for instance in NASCAR, Austin Dillon's Richmond win last year. How many days was that until we learned that, hey, that this it counts technically, but not for the playoffs? And then IndyCar with last year, with a month later, you hear Penske, they had pushed a pass before it was allowed or whatever, and all the illegal stuff. And I think in motorsports, it's hard to really pinpoint because it's so different. And I mean, you could say Deflategate with Tom Brady, but it's not really. It's because it's totally different scenario. But I think it's its own animal, and I think for any series, not just NHRA or IndyCar or NASCAR, I think everyone as a whole still trying to find that fine line of, how do we speed up this process, but also do our due diligence where we're not having to kind of play this guessing game and then you hear back days later that, hey, this isn't actually the thing. And I don't know if there is an easy solution at this point in time, but I'm sure there's people that are smarter than I am that will eventually figure it out. But it's just one of those things where it's a revolving target that we're still trying to kind of navigate.
Of course, it couldn't happen to two gentlemen that have a great reputation of being clean racers, friendly with the fans, their Toyota teammates. This would make more sense if it was, JFR and Tasca or Todd or somewhere in the pro stock class where there's some really notable rivalries. I can't think of an example. Maybe we'll have Dave W. correct me tonight where these two have ever hated each other. It comes off on a huge round of sportsmanship, and they don't even get to give each other the proper high five at the top end.
Yeah, and it's just tough because having gotten to know them the last 2 years, it's hard because they're both the most strong, fearless competitors out there, and it's like any technical ruling that you don't really see it too much, and we saw it with like Elite Motorsports a couple of weeks ago, and that was handled very, very well, I would say, but it's you just hate it because it kind of goes. You go into the next weekend, and Justin on one hand's like, we won, but I just want to get one for our guys wholeheartedly, and Shawn's trying to come back from a different perspective, and it just feels kind of like it kind of brings like not a doom and gloom, but it's sort of like a damper on what's been a fantastic Top Fuel season as a whole.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh boy.
I'm usually pretty delicate with you. We've gotten along pretty well. I give you the key to the car. How do you rule this? If you're in charge after the infraction, what happens next?
Honestly, I would probably just say, it's a fair ruling. I would say, NHRA had to do their due diligence, and it's just one of those things that it's the same thing as like I thought initially with like NASCAR and a lug nut coming off. I'm sure it's a very minor thing, but hey, if it's not tight enough and something comes loose, you have to make that call. And I don't fault NHRA at all. And it's just you hate it because it's one little minor thing, but that minor thing goes a long way, and that's a whole gray area that we don't really want to get into, but you have to do what you have to do to kind of set these standards. So maybe the next time if someone happened to see that, or if Coletta Motorsports say they see that and they're like, well, I don't know, oh well, they didn't catch that, we're going to keep doing, or whatever that may be. It's you want to make sure that we're staying in that window, that parameter where there aren't those gray areas that kind of could spiral into more stuff.
What about the punishment itself? Was it fair? Should it have been maybe, a fine, a suspension, something else? Or do you think that this loud statement is the proper one within enforcing the rules?
I believe it's probably the best, just because of the fact that, the last thing you want to do, I think taking away the win's the best thing you can do. I don't think we need to have crazy fines or suspensions, just because it was the first time too. If it were to be like a reoccurring thing, then I do feel like you got to make stiffer penalties. But I think because something got loose, I don't think you really need to have anyone be suspended or that sort of thing.
I think that's fair. David Hoffman, NHRA reporter, frequenting the races. When do you think we'll see you at another race? And what can you tell us about your product? Any kind of partners, plugs, shows, or anything else you want to cover?
Well, so I guess first off, I don't have any partners, so anyone watching, come call me. You can get in contact with. Yes, give me a call. But yeah, so I guess the first, or I guess the next race it'll probably be is Reading, I think, and then I think Reading, Pomona, that sort of thing. But yeah, I am a YouTuber, Behind the Catch Fence. You can search me up. We do all sorts of stuff from driver interviews, pit tours, behind the scenes stuff. We got a couple cool things in the works. One-man operation, so we're making it work, and nearing 2,000 subscribers. It'd be cool to reach that by maybe by the next month or two. So yeah, Behind the Catch fans, you can find me at Instagram and X at Behind Catch. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk racing. And, it's just been such a fun community to be a part of. And AJ, obviously you've been amazing, and just talking with you the past couple of years. So,
well, it's always a pleasure. And David also has one great tour of John Force Racing out in California that we'll make sure we put up on the website someday soon. David, thanks for joining us, and thanks for dealing with a little bit of tech tonight.
Always a pleasure. Can't wait to come back on here soon. Thanks, AJ.
Sounds great. David Hoffman of Beyond the Catch Fence and NHRA journalist. Him and his wife do a tremendous variety of work in motorsport and sport media, and it's always fun to see what they've got up their sleeve. Of course, old AJ can get a little worked up from time to time. It's no secret. Frankly, it's sometimes where I thrive, but I knew it would be a little delicate when I'm talking to old Hoffman there. But tonight we've got a little bit of a duel in the, well, I'm going to call it the desert because it sounds cool, but I'm in the Midwest. And so are these two fine gentlemen. On the left of your screen, YouTuber Mighty Mack, an editorialist, storyteller, and proud liaison to Peak Performance Products. And on the right of your screen is Statistician, and somebody that I didn't use this word on social media because I wasn't sure if it was literal, but I refer to him as a historian among friends. It's Dave W. We'll start with Noah. Mighty Mack, how are you? And thanks for being here.
I'm doing great, man. We're just getting over this heat wave here in Indianapolis, and we're getting ready to leave and head out to Norwalk for the Summer Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals. Hopefully the rain holds off, but I mean, regardless, you're going to be heading out to Norwalk, one of the best facilities in the country and one of the best promoters in the country. So interesting time heading off of Bristol for Pro Stock, still getting over that penalty, and now we get to add this on there. It's going to be an interesting weekend, to say the least. And I mean, heck, we still have the Matt and Gage war. So I mean, all four classes are going to be thriving in beef right now.
And we'll get to the details as to why, but you do think NHRA has made the right call before we go to Dave and say hello, correct?
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to do? You could fine them and you can penalize them, but then it falls kind of into that same realm of, well, you can do anything you want. You just got to pay a fine for it. You can go 100 miles an hour on the interstate, but you're going to get $1,000 ticket on top of it. Well, you can have 5 bolts missing on a wheel. Well, you're going to have to pay for it. So I think this is a good enough way to tell these guys, you can't do this. You can't get away with this stuff. You can't just go out there with bolts loose or missing. So you got to do something. And if you win the race, you can't keep it if you don't follow the rules. So what else are they going to do?
And I do see you're wearing a Langdon shirt. I didn't notice that pre-show. Well done. Dave W., owner of DragRaceReference.com, historian, statistician, a true member of the motorsport media knowledge base, and my great friend Darren Williams Jr. introduced him to me years ago. Dave, welcome. And you represent the side that thinks Shawn Langdon, well, I'll say it because I work the late shift. He got butt-fucked.
Well, I mean, I don't see at this point why the gentleman shouldn't have kept his win. You can give him the same points penalty that you basically gave him by the runner-up spot is taking 20 points away, and you can give him the same basic, what you'd call a fine, by him getting the runner-up spot and losing out on the prize money, and take him 30 grand away. So you could basically negate the winning effects of the run, but don't take the trophy away. I mean, he still won the race. He did all the post-race stuff. They took all the pictures. The fans in the stands saw him win the race. I feel like that it kind of takes a little bit away when you go home and then you find out later that somebody else won and what you saw happen didn't really happen. And there's other ways of going about it, but I don't think you need to penalize him by taking the win away. I think the win should still stand.
So let's talk then, Noah, about the excitement, the drama. I have fallen for NHRA drag racing. So little of my coverage is about oval racing or dirt racing or off-road anymore. But something that we say in our sport we need quite often is the drama. Whether he's right or wrong, this team and their punishment from NHRA, this is certainly that, no?
Yes, I mean, this is going to make it more interesting because now Shawn Langdon has a bone to pick. He has something to prove, to say, we're still the best team out here. 12 bolts or not on that inspection cover, we're still the top team out there. And I've said it all year long. He's one of the most consistent cars on the property. And over the last 5 years, he's probably one of the most undervalued drivers in nitro racing just because of how talented he is. He was my pick going into Pomona about winning that championship. I thought he was going to jump both Justin Ashley and Antron Brown. It didn't happen, but he came oh so close. And right now, he is the top guy to battle Tony Stewart for that championship. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to watch heading into the countdown, is those two guys with the possibility of Brittany Ford sneaking her way back up in there as well.
So if you were in charge, be it the competition, any kind of admin, what punishment would you have seen fit? Was it specifically the encumberment of a win? Was it a points fine? Was it something else? Do you think they made exactly the right call, or you just think they're right in punishing the team?
I think, in all honesty, yes, it is pretty much the right call, because, I seen media members on Twitter talking about, oh, well, you should have just been a point fine and a money fine on top of it as well, the same you did Elite. Well, the thing is, Elite didn't win the race. It was in qualifying, so they still got the point fine and the win fine. Well, Shawn Langdon, he lost, $22,000 from going from winner to runner-up. He lost 20 points on Tony Stewart, so that puts him in a hole for that $150,000 for the regular season championship. That's enough of a fine, because in how tight this championship battle has been in the past, every single point matters, and it's going to come down to that when we head to Indianapolis. Those $150,000 is going to mean a lot to these teams. As for, whether or not the win should be stripped, yeah, it does, because at the end of the day, you got to go back to your sponsors and tell them, hey, we're not the winners anymore because we made a mistake. This is another deterrent for them, because now you have to go back, look your partners in the eye, and explain to them why you don't have the trophy anymore and why you have to take down all these winners posts, like the way that NHRA was holding back on saying that Shawn Langdon was the winner on all their social media posts that they made after the race.
And so, Dave, we can't disagree with Noah or the NHRA as far as this was a violation that is cross-referenced in the new rule book issued January this year. We verified that.
Right.
But what punishment do you see fit if you were making those calls last night?
Well, again, I mean, if you're doing the points, like I say, take the 20 points away, take the round, whatever you would get for doing that. And NASCAR has had a precedence of doing that in the past. If we're comparing to other motorsports, I know now they've gotten to the point where they're not as shy about actually stripping race wins away, and that's why all of their results are unofficial until after tech. So does NHRA need to start doing that if that's what they're going to do? But NASCAR before has gone, okay, well, we found a car to be illegal, whatever. We're going to take away the points and the money that you would have earned for doing that. So do you let the win stand? Because that was always the adage is let the fan know who wins the race when they go home. So do you do the same thing in this situation? Do you take just the round away? Because really, if you're just taking the round away and the win away, your overall penalty, the win doesn't really, it's not like winning you're in like NASCAR. The win is cool. He's still going to be in the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge in Norwalk. It was really only a 20-point loss and runner-up money loss, versus winning money. But compare that, since Noah brought up Elite's penalty, they ran, quote, illegal wheels that were not approved by the rule book. That was a, quote, safety infraction in the NHRA's eyes in a qualifying run that made no difference. There was no performance advantage. The car ran slower, did not win a round for it, and got banged 100 points. So we're taking this guy's win away and penalizing him 20 points, basically giving him runner-up status for a same alleged safety infraction that, of course, still had no bearing on it. But where's the consistency there with going, well, Elite got, they took 100 points away. That's a huge, huge penalty to that team. So I think that the actual win part of it, where the trophy goes, where the stats end up in the win column, are really inconsequential. And if they really wanted to make a statement, I think that the points and the fine would have been more than enough. Say, you know what? Fine, you can win the race, but you don't get the 100 points for winning the race, and you don't get the $50,000 winner's check. Here's your trophy. Have a nice day. But don't take the win away.
So, Noah, on social media, my take was mostly that of the fan. I have no animosity towards Langdon or Justin Ashley, but I'm a little concerned about the fan, and I don't mean to take sides. This is between you two having different feels, but Dave mentioned the fans. What do you think about specifically young or new fans who go, they see a young, good-looking, hot Toyota go real fast, and then another good Toyota won.
Yeah, I was about to hit you over the head with that one. I was like, well, Toyota still won, so it doesn't really matter to them. So the best way I can describe this is, while the fans are the number one priority when it comes to this, this isn't an entertainment business. We're not WWE. If you want to worry about what the fans think when they go home, then we can put a boxing ring in the staging lanes, and then we can just have Shawn Langdon and Justin Ashley go 7 rounds and put money down on who we think is going to be standing by the time it's over. This is a professional sport. You have to pull these things off. You talk about, oh, you can't strip the win away. Well, we're talking about NASCAR. You remember back in the 2010s when JGR was getting caught blowing all these tires and the burnout to avoid tech infringement. They still were cheating to go out there and win races, but they didn't have their win stripped. And the fans and NASCAR both thought, okay, this isn't working. It's not a strong enough deterrent because these teams are still going out there and doing this because they still get to keep their win. I do agree, maybe there should have been a harsher point penalty considering what Elite Motorsports had done to them. I do somewhat agree with that, but I understand maybe where NHRA came from that. But, that's more of a question on what the rule book says on what penalties they can do for that. Maybe they need to write it into where maybe they can take all the points away from that rather than just being able to disqualify the round. I'm not sure the technicalities on what the penalties stipulations are, but regardless of the fact, the win's taken away from them, and it's a sporting rule. You can't just go out there and say, oh, well, we don't want to hurt the fans' feelings or hurt their experience because of the fact that, this win was stripped away. They have to do it. You have to penalize these guys. You have to have a strong enough deterrent for them to say, okay, we're not going to make that mistake again because we don't want to be put in this position again.
So, Dave, I would say maybe you two disagree there. Are we in the competition industry or are we in the entertainment industry? Also, before you answer, I do want to say hi to my good friend and family at this point, Darren Williams Jr. We see you in the comments, brother.
I think you're in both. All right. You have to have some form of entertainment to get people to want to spend their money to come watch you do what you're doing. But at the same time, you are also a professional sports organization and you are doing things that are bigger than what the people see in front of you. I mean, yes, you have sponsors to answer to. And, what you're bringing up, Noah, as far as JGR and their NASCAR side of things, the bolts that were left out, I mean, it's a safety infraction, but it's not a performance enhancing infraction. So there was really no attempt at cheating. It's not like they went out there and ran 30% more blower overdrive and just smoked them. And now we need to take it away. I get that. There was no inherent attempt to bypass the rules. It was just something that happened. It was a safety infraction. And I get that the precedence has been set because they did take the win away from J.R. Gray in Pro Mod at Bristol last year by still having the pin in the fire extinguisher. So, it is a safety infraction. You shouldn't do it. And they took the win away there. So there's a precedence there. But the NHRA as a whole, there's another aspect of it. They are really, really, really pushing play NHRA. And if you love to gamble, and sometimes I do, don't ever bet on a drag race. It's a sure way to lose your money. If you win, you get paid out as soon as that final round is done. And it goes to your account and you can transfer it out right away. And, that doesn't look good when you have to go back to the play NHRA people and say, or the betting side of things and all those casinos for people that gambled and say, you better go get that money back because we're going to actually change the results of this race. So all those payouts that you paid to the Shawn Langdon winners, get that back and let's give it to the Justin Ashley people instead. And especially if Justin had longer odds, now those people are like, hell yeah, I really cashed out on it. But there's more things that are in play that are going on that are bigger than the sport. That is another reason why you shouldn't. If the race is what it is, it stands. Penalize the team, but don't penalize the people that are watching it or the people that are invested in it or the people that are betting on it because you open a big Pandora's box in the future of things that could be overturned one way or the other and really start upsetting things well beyond what we know as NHRA drag racing.
And Noah,
am I going to respond to that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead and respond and then be sure to tell the folks listening tonight where they can find you and whatever you'd like to share.
The response to the sports gambling thing, to be completely honest with you, I'm not a fan of it. I was not a fan of it when they announced it. They don't pay me to do it. I don't care for it. To be honest, I could care less about the sports gambling side of things. The tech department should not be worried about what DraftKings thinks about this because it's not their problem. That's the front office's problem. Nobody asked them to bring this in here. I think it is the worst thing to happen to sports. That's a whole nother conversation that we don't have to get into tonight. I could care less. You want to go out there and try and win on choosing drag racing winners, go to the logo on his hat right now and go sign up for Drag Racing Bracket Bonanza. People who actually are at this sport every single weekend. You're not going to lose money. You're not feeding a gambling addiction. You don't have to worry about this stuff because then we don't have to worry about going to DraftKings and sportsbooks and MGM Grand Casino saying, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to take the win away, so you got to go get their money back. No. Drag Race Bracket Bonanza hasn't sent the plates out, so they don't have to worry about it. Oh, I think Dave just left. So it's like, it's a non-issue. I could care less what the sports bookies think. That's their problem. You want to go bet on drag racing, go bet on drag racing. It's not my problem. And neither should it be the tech department. It's the front offices who decided they want to do this stuff. As for me, social media pages, Mighty Mac 03 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow me on there. We do all kinds of updates, all kind of fun posts. I still have to edit Bristol photos before we head out to Norwalk. Subscribe to the channel Mighty Mac 03 on YouTube. We're going to have full content from the Norwalk event, courtesy of our friends over at Peak Performance who have been so supportive of us. AJ, you've met with both Bob Boyle and Brian Bollner. You know how much of a class act those guys are and how much they love the sport of drag racing. They are A-class guys, some of the nicest in the sport I've been able to work with, and it's an honor to be able to represent them at all the events. So to have them on board with us for the Norwalk Nationals as well as the rest of the season at Indianapolis, Reading, and St. Louis, it's always a lot of fun, and we're going to have a lot more fun out of Norwalk, and I can't wait to see because I'm going to be walking up and down those pits trying to figure out what could have happened to cause this to happen because I have so many questions on what could have caused these bolts to come loose, or in my honest opinion, I don't think they're on the card to begin with.
Mighty Mac, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And it was a wild one. How about Dave W. putting the shades on and saying, can't see me? You can't see me? He's tuning out fast. I want to say thank you to David Hoffman from Behind the Catch Fence and Dave W. from Drag Race Reference, of course, Mighty Mac. In the comments tonight, we do see a couple of DJs. Wicca, 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 wicca. Okay, that was awful, but I know you guys will screen record it and make fun of me later. That's going to be Dujanay Bland, host of the Not Bland Show, and Darren Williams Jr. over there in the comments section. If you've watched, you know we had a little bit of technical difficulties here at the beginning of the show, and so tonight's show was split into two segments. And so typically we have a monologue that we start with, and tonight's show, it's going to be a story where we finish with a monologue. So here at the Late Lap, we're going to do that just about right now. If you're just tuning in, tonight's story isn't just about racing, it's about regulation, inspection, and the difficult intersection between technical enforcement and competitive glory. This weekend, the NHRA community watched as the results of the Top Fuel final at the Virginia NHRA Nationals were reversed nearly 24 hours after the event concluded. The man who held the Wally on Sunday, Shawn Langdon, is no longer the official winner. That title now belongs to Justin Ashley. This isn't a case of red light. It's not a matter of a timing error or track conditions. It's a rare and technical post-race disqualification based on the mechanical integrity of the race car itself. Specifically, the issue is related to the bell housing, a critical part of the drivetrain system that encapsulates the flywheel and the clutch assembly. According to NHRA officials, Langdon's Kalitta Motorsports dragster failed post-race inspection due to a violation of SFI Spec 6.2. The required number of bolts securing the bell housing cover simply weren't there. That count came up short, and just like that, vamoose, a trophy was re-awarded. Let's break this down. NHRA tech inspectors found that the bell housing cover on Langdon's dragster did not have the minimum 12 bolts secured as mandated by both NHRA rules and SFI system regulations. Kalitta Motorsport acknowledged the issue in a statement issued shortly after the sanctioning body's decision. According to Chad Head, general manager of the team, the bolts were in place before the run, but some came loose during the pass and fell into the belly pan. In other words, It wasn't a premeditated violation, it was a mechanical mishap. But per NHRA enforcement standards, intent doesn't override rulebook language. To be clear, the rule is about safety. The bell housing is designed to contain debris in the event of a catastrophic clutch or flywheel failure. When it is not properly secured, it can't perform that function at all, which puts drivers and crew members at risk. It's not a performance rule, it's a protection rule. And that's what makes the reversal so significant, because even though Langdon made the pass, crossed the finish line first, and celebrated as the victor, the violation of a critical safety standard negated the result. The relevant rule can be found in this year's NHRA rule amendments under Section 19, Top Fuel Dragster Drivetrain, Chapter 2. The rule states, and I quote, flywheel and clutch meeting SFI Spec 1.3 and flywheel shield meeting SFI Spec 6.2 are mandatory. The NHRA rulebook also refers to general regulations and SFI guidelines for further detail. SFI Spec 6.2 explicitly requires no fewer than 12 bolts securing the bell housing shield. It's worth noting that this isn't an obscure line buried in the technical jargon. It's clearly stated and a cross-referenced requirement that every team is expected to meet, and NHRA inspectors found it unmet. That's not subjective. That's not anything other than mechanical and binary. Cataletto Motorsports did not dispute the finding. In fact, they handled that situation with grace, I thought, and I think that their statement expressed respect for the NHRA's authority and emphasized the importance of safety. That's on us, they say. We didn't win yesterday's race, we're moving on. From a procedural standpoint, the timing of the reversal was awkward though. The win light had long gone out. Victory lane photos had been taken, the press conference had been conducted, NHRA had already distributed its official press release identifying Langdon as the winner. That's the kind of public narrative cementing that's hard to undo. Even with the rulebook in hand, but undo it they did. And here's where things get a little more complicated, not from the technical perspective, but as we mentioned with Noah and Dave, from the fan experience perspective. How do you explain to a fan who watched Langdon's celebration that the race they saw didn't really end the way they thought it did? How do you validate that kind of post-race reversal live on nationwide Fox coverage when the infraction had no obvious impact on the outcome of the run? This is the line NHRA walks. They are responsible not just for entertainment, but for safety enforcement. It's not about whether the rule infraction made Langdon faster, it's about whether the car complied with minimum safety standards, and in this case, it did not. As for Justin Ashley, this marks another win in what's already been a strong season. It's a victory that comes without the typical post-race celebration, but it's valid all the same. At the end of the year, we will chalk this up as yet another Wally. He and his team followed the rules, made the run, and were declared winners after the full scope of technical review was complete. That's not how anyone prefers to win, but in a championship season, every point matters. It's also a reminder that NHRA's rulebook isn't just a document, it's a contract between competitors, sanctioning body, and right now, even the fans. Every bolt, every component, every paragraph exists for a reason, and every post-race inspection is a promise that those rules will be enforced, whether it feels good or not. This has been one hell of a week for NHRA media. Some people are mad, some people are happy, and who we really owe thanks to is the NHRA PR, communication, competition, and admin. Because whether we like or hate what they did, I can tell you, after working one hell of a hard, difficult, emotionally draining week in Virginia last year, where people demanded answers, it's not always that simple, and it really hurts to stay quiet. As I say at the end of every great show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, smile, be happy, And until then, take care. And to our friends in the South, sea amable consigo mismo. Sea amable con otros. Sonría, sea feliz. Hasta entonces, cuídese. We'll see you tomorrow night.